Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today as we pull back the curtain and take an inside look at the only industry-specific CRM solution for lubricant marketers. Talk about Ledgeview's CRM for oil and gas that's powered by Microsoft Dynamics 365. Now, I'm Chad Collette. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Ledgeview Partners. And for those who may be unfamiliar with Ledgeview, we're a business and technology consulting company that partners with organizations to really transform their sales, their marketing, and their customer service, their operations and their processes that are supported by the core technologies that include customer relationship management or CRM and marketing automation. But for our group here today, oil and gas lubricant marketers, Ledgeview is the industry leader and has created the only vertical CRM solution specifically for your industry. A solution that we're going to take a look at here today. Now, before we get into the core of today's webinar and the demonstration, I've got just a couple of those housekeeping standard items to cover. Now, today's webinar is going to be recorded and it's going to be available on demand after the live session. All attendees are going to receive a follow-up email after the webinar is complete with a link to access the demo on demand. Now, if you haven't already done so, make sure you add @ledgviewpartners.com to your safe senders list to ensure that you get the email from me, Chad Collette. Or if you happen to find us in your clutter, your junk, or your spam, please mark us as a safe sender. Now, we encourage you to share any of these resources within your company and also refers to any other lubricant marketers that you may know. Now, for the best audio quality, we've got everybody in listen-only mode. But if you have a question or a comment, please submit those in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. Now, we'd love to take questions after the webinar is complete, but we've got a very full agenda, but we will make sure we follow up with you within 24 hours to answer any of those questions. And now that those items are out of the way, I want to welcome today's presenter, Steve Raybrock from Ledgeview Partners. Now, Steve holds a few titles: Senior Product Consultant, Managing Consultant, and all-around great guy. But the thing that really sets Steve apart, besides his passion for CRM for oil and gas solution, is that he's the one that kicks off each of these projects, and he'd be the one at your facility in person to make sure that CRM is a success for you. Now, personally, I always look forward to these demos and seeing all the amazing tools that Ledgeview has created for lubricant marketers right out of the box. So, Steve, enough of me, so take it away.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chad. And you were right. I kind of looked through the agenda that we put together, and there is a ton of stuff to show you. So I'm going to do this in what I'm going to call speed mode. But one of the things Chad's going to mention at the end of this is, if anybody would want just to have a one-on-one conversation, get a personalized demonstration, we'd be more than happy to do that, because it's kind of difficult without being interactive here, hitting the mark exactly. So I'm probably going to leave you with a lot of questions, and we just want to make sure we can address all them. So let's rock and roll here. All right, I thought I would start with just a quick slide here. These are many of the customers that are using our oil and gas CRM that I'm going to demonstrate today. And one of the things that I find so cool that I really can't do in a demonstration is when I got to work with all of these companies and we kind of get the CRM built and up and running, when their data gets put into the system, it just brings the whole thing to life. So today you're stuck with some of my test data, but try to envision, how this would work with your customers, with your products, with your departments, whatnot. And hopefully you'll get a really good image of how this thing would work with your data. But anyway, I just wanted to point this out. Quick review of kind of my agenda is I'm going to spend a little bit of time, reviewing our oil and gas CRM, which runs on Dynamics 365. So we're going to talk about it for a little bit. Then I'm going to jump right in to spend most of the time actually, flying through some screens, showing you what it does. We'll go through that. And then as Chad said, he'll kind of wrap things up with any questions you have, and we'll get back to you if we run out of time, which we're probably going to run out of time. I'm going to do this as fast as I can, but I want to cover everything. Right. One of the things that we do here at Ledgeview is we do user group webinars. So about every 2 or 3 months, Chad and I will put together a topic based on feedback from our customers, and we'll get on the phone, maybe 45 minutes, and go through a feature, answer some questions. It's kind of a neat time for us to provide that. And the last time we did one, we polled our customers and we said, what's your favorite feature? And many of them had a lot of them, but if they just had to pick one, what would it be? And I was kind of amazed. Our reports, is very, very popular, which is kind of cool to hear that we developed some reports that are going to, help the businesses run, help them analyze the data, analyze their accounts, their products, trending. So all kinds of good reports in our system. And it looks like a lot of folks are out there using them. And then one of the obvious ones is having all the data, right at their fingertips. And then down the list a little bit, activity tracking. We have a mobile app that some folks really like. And then we have some charts and dashboards. And there was a lot of other, onesie twosie like answers, but these were the biggies. So this was kind of exciting to me to see this. The one thing I was surprised I didn't see on here was just the pipeline management, just, managing opportunities, which is what a lot of salespeople do. And I think it's because that's just like the foundation now, right? That's just kind of a given. And then what else can we do? And so that's why I think people are now answering this question this way. All right. So again, we're going to talk a little bit and then I'm going to get into it. So we're going to cover navigation. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time when I get into the system, kind of showing you how to navigate around. And then I'm also going to demonstrate how you can kind of turn that data into valuable information. I'm kind of using the word here, data visualization, how we turn data and present it in charts, in dashboards, in reports, how you can probe into that data, right? You get a chart and it tells you something, but you have you want to probe into that chart to find out more. It's very easy to do that kind of stuff. So we're going to spend some time on this. This section over here, this data integration, is kind of important and it's difficult to show you. So this is one where I'm going to spend just a minute or two talking about right now. So we tie your accounting system or your ERP, whatever you want to call it, into CRM. So basically we do an initial load of a lot of data, and then every night we get data from your accounting system and we push that into CRM, and we make sure then that CRM matches your accounting system. We believe that's your Bible. And I grew up kind of in the IT world, so one version of the truth is very important to me. So what do? Bring over things like in CRM, we call them accounts. You would probably consider them your customers. So all of your customer information, name, address, salesperson, payment terms, what industry they're in, all the good stuff that's in your accounting system for your customers, we want to bring over to CRM. Another important file is just like a product master list. What products do you sell? And then a really nice one is what we call order history. Think of it as every line on an invoice. So when you sell a product to a customer, and the price they pay and your cost and how many they bought, we're going to get that all into CRM to bring some of these charts and dashboards and reports, to life with your data. So these are three very foundational files that pretty much everybody integrates with our system. And then we have some optional ones that are becoming more popular. Some companies use all of them, some use 2 or 3. But if you have some generic price lists, we can get them into CRM. That might help with your quoting or just to kind of understand what some of your prices are. If your accounting system, maybe your credit department's entering notes and you want access to them in CRM, we can bring them over. If you want your team to know how much product you have on hand in each of your warehouses, and your accounting system hopefully knows that, you can send that over to CRM. And then if you have any customers on special pricing, we can have a file come over from your accounting system that's basically at the account product level. Like if they bought this product today, what will we charge them? So all of this then can be right at users' fingertips in CRM. All right. What else are we going to spend time reviewing today? We're going to talk about leads. I really can't show this because I'm using my laptop, not my phone. But with leads and even with contacts, there's a business card scanner feature, which is kind of nice. You're using your phone, you just snap a picture, wake up CRM and say, look, I want you to do the best you can to read that and populate my lead or my contact record with what's on this business card. So that's kind of cool. So we'll talk about leads, accounts, contacts, and opportunities, which are 3, 4 main records like in our system. We'll talk about a feature called estimated days between orders, where the system can help you understand if you maybe lost or are losing a customer. We have a suggestive sell feature that might recommend some things you might want to talk to a customer about. If they're buying A, why aren't they buying B? And I'll explain that when we get into that. Obviously, we've got a way to capture some competitor information. We'll spend a little bit more time on opportunities, the sales process. I'll do a quick review of our quote feature. So there's a lot right here, but there's more. I also want to demonstrate a little bit about our goal setting feature, where you can set volume and gross profit goals, and then how that comes to life in CRM. And if you do that, you can take advantage of another feature where we can actually do some gap to goal analysis. So it's pretty easy once you set goals to just say goal versus actual, but to take that a step further and take a look at your goal, take a look at what you've done so far, and then take a look at what's in your pipeline, your average win rate, your average deal size, and actually come up with a calculation to say, hey, based on all this data, you need about, 75 more opportunities by the end of the year to hit your goal. So just a great tool to use maybe once a month, once every 6 months, just to kind of take a look at how your gap to goal, is looking. Spend a little bit of time on tracking activities and notes. We have an equipment tracking module. A ton of our customers have a lot of loaned equipment tanks, usually out in the field, and to have a way to keep track of where they are, who has them, how long they've had them, are they actually putting our product in those tanks, all kinds of cool stuff with this equipment tracking feature. We also have a fuel price notification feature where we can blast emails of fuel prices if you're in the fuel business, as well as lubricants. It's a very basic thing. CRM doesn't have taxes and freight rates, so it's very basic price notification, but it works for a handful of our customers, so that's great. We've got a mapping tool where you can kind of plot accounts on a map. I'll show you that. This one, again, I really can't show you, but almost everything that I'm going to demonstrate today, if you think about what a salesperson would want to do out on the road, they can do on their phone. That everything is running in the cloud. Their phone probably has a data plan, so it's pretty easy to get connected. And then you can go into CRM and you can pull up a contact or add a contact or qualify a lead or update an opportunity or check, you're just driving into a customer's site, you get in the parking lot, you can check their order history. When's the last time they purchased? How big of a customer are they? All of that at your fingertips. A couple years ago, we added a KPI feature, key performance indicators. So you set the KPI. There's like 25 different KPIs you can set. So it's like pretty much anything you can think of. And then every night we scrunch the data, and whenever you want to look, whether it's weekly, monthly, every day, we kind of use the red, yellow, green, and we show you how you're doing on your KPIs. So more good stuff there. All right. Whew, that was a lot. So I am going to rock and roll and get into the system. So I'm going to flip over to CRM at this time. And that is going to be where? How about right here? Okay, so I'm now in CRM, and the first thing I want to show you just a little bit about the navigation. It's pretty simple once you use it, but I just want you to get a sense of, kind of where I'm maneuvering, because this isn't training. But over on the bottom here on the left is kind of the main area. So I'm in the sales area, and these are all the things up here on the left that I can do within the sales module, the sales area. I can go to opportunities, accounts, contacts. So there's that. And in the workplace area, if I change the area to workplace, this list changes. And here's where all my dashboards and reports and videos. We have a video library. If you hire somebody new, they can watch some training videos to kind of get up to speed. So there's lots of things in the workplace area. So that's kind of the main navigation. And then I'm going to go back to sales. Once you're in like a list of records, there's a lot of other navigation you can do here. It's kind of like Excel. You can filter on any column heading, so you can kind of change this list if you want, this view of records. So that's just a quick thing about navigation. I think what I'm going to do is just jump into an account real quick. So I went into sales, and now I'm in accounts. So these are like all of our accounts, and some of them are Some of them that don't have a customer number would be considered prospects. Some of them are real customers. So I'm just going to go over here and just search for one. This is kind of a popular one for me because it has some data. And again, just a real quick overview of the navigation, so you get a sense for how easy it is to search and find something. And in this case, if I open up this record, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but here's a customer, Fairview Manufacturing. There's all kinds of information about this account, and there's all these different tabs we'll cover a little bit later. But because this has an account number and it's tied to your back office, back to one of my original statements, how I'm really conscientious of one version of the truth. So the account name, that comes from your accounting system. So we actually lock that field once this record is tied to your accounting system. If for some reason, this company's main phone number is wrong here, change it in your accounting system. Let's get it corrected at the source. And then tomorrow it'll magically be corrected in CRM. So I know that's a really quick overview of navigation, but I want to just quickly show you that. There's so much more I could show you. So I'm going to take a step back then and think about the sales process. And typically you would start out with a lead. So maybe I'm driving by, I'm driving to work, I'm driving up to the cottage. I see maybe a construction company or whatever, and I think, hey, they're not a customer of ours. I think I'm going to put them into CRM as a lead. So that's basically how that works. I'm not going to bother entering one here today. I think I created this one a little while ago, just Fred Flintstone here, I think. So this is basically what a lead looks like in the system. So again, very early on in the sales process, I think we all understand what a lead is. So I fill in information about the potential customer, the lead, and then I save that. And then ultimately I have two choices to make on the lead. After I do a little bit of research, if I find out it's a bad lead, I can disqualify it. Or if it's a good lead, I want to go after it, then I qualify it. And when you qualify it, it takes all of this information from the lead and will automatically create a prospect account. So then I'll have a new account in the file here. So I'll be done with the lead. I'll have a prospect account I'm actually working on. It'll take some of this information and create a contact record. So that's a person I deal with at this account. And then the biggie, it will also create an opportunity. And that's the biggie, right? That's going to be a way to track the business that you're going after. So definitely you want to turn that prospect into a customer. And the way you do that is you win opportunities. So that's a quick overview on the lead process. So let's say we qualified this lead, we worked an opportunity, and we won that account. And now that customer he's turned into a regular customer. I'm going to flip over back to that account screen that I was on earlier, and it's kind of a shortcut up here. I kind of like this recently viewed. It keeps track of like the last 10 places I was, and so I'm just going to quickly go to Fairview Manufacturing. So now I'm going to back up a notch and just kind of show you all the things you can see on an existing customer. So I'll go through some of these tabs. So this is pretty simple stuff here, right? Just basic information about the customer. This next tab used to be farther over, but it's so popular we moved it right here. This is active order history. So really think of it as every line item on an invoice for Fairview Manufacturing, and I think I loaded a lot of data in there for this account. And it's going to show it to me in the most recent transaction going backwards. And it looks like I just dumped a lot of stuff in here in January, and I dated it January 11th. But if I scroll backwards, you'll see some stuff on January 4th. And then if I go back a little bit further, I'm just scrolling down here. Looks like I loaded a lot there on January 3rd, January 2nd, what have you. And it's just showing me like their order number, which is probably like an invoice number, the product they purchased, how much they paid, what was our cost, how many did they buy, how much revenue did it produce, how much gross profit did it produce, how much did we make per gallon, and then what department, and then we also have what product category it was for. So we get all of that data from your accounting system, and then when we look at the product that they purchased, that's when we can stamp it with the correct product segment, their department, product category. So now we can run all kinds of cool reports against this data. But this is just a great way to see when's the last time somebody bought something, what did they buy. So really a nice tool. Moving over to additional information real quick, just address information, a few credit terms, nothing special here. There's a map here, which is kind of cool. If you don't know exactly where this customer is, if we have enough of an address, we can put it on a map for you. Amounts comes from your accounting system. So if you want, this is optional, you can bring over up to any 10 numbers or dollar figures that you want. So in this case, it looks like, what does the customer owe us? Is it current? Is it past due? This was all these are just some examples of what some other customers have done. So I threw it in my test data. There's also a whole screen here of different ways you might want to group your customers. So there's different classifications and categories, all configurable, to your needs. And then a bunch of user-defined fields. If you want any other option sets to code your customers as, or you just want to put in some dollar amounts for some tracking for some reason, if you want some extra text fields, if you want some date fields, we have these in here because folks like you are very creative with how they want to use the system. Is there a way to keep track of when some of our customers' contracts expire? Well, if there's probably 2 or 3 different ways to do it. One of the ways now is you could just use this date field here for the contract expiration date. And then you'd have it. So that's that. Let's see, a couple other tabs which are kind of cool. Contacts and product summaries. So contacts are the people I deal with. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but obviously we have a spot where you can put in the people. But over here on the right is where we take a look at that order history and we summarize it by product over the last 12 months, and then we show you the product this customer is buying the most of down to the product they're buying the least of. So it's kind of a nice summary. It gives you an idea of how big the customer is, what kind of customer they are. And as you scroll over, you'll see we don't just show you volume. We show you, again, over the last 12 months, how much revenue, how much gross profit, how much did we average per gallon, per unit on that product, and then when's the last time they ordered each of these products that they purchased in the last 12 months. If you want to go really deeper, go down a little bit further on the left here, and here's now a 4-year summary screen. So now we break this down by department. So in this case, this customer bought some fuel, and then we show you by month in 2019, volume and gross profit, 2020, 2021, and there's 2022, and then there's a total for fuel. And then they also, looks like they bought some lubricants. So then there's a section in here for lubricants. All of these are going to be your products, right? Your departments. So if you have a big chemical is big in your company, or maybe DEF is so big it's a separate department, or you have a service department or an equipment department, or man, I've got a couple customers who have an HVAC department, right? So it's all configurable. All right, not going to hit the rest of these tabs, but there's a spot to look at the activities and opportunities for an account and competitor information, and there's a credit tab. So lots of information about each account. I also wanted to show you, I've been showing you a lot of this data in terms of numbers. I'm kind of a number guy, but just one way, if you're more graphical, if I go up here, there's a dashboard that's at the account level. So just for this account, how is this customer doing this year to date versus last year to date? So this is based on your fiscal year. So if your fiscal year just started, right, there's not going to be much here. So we always show you the last 2 years over on this chart. So this is the most recent 12 months to the prior 12 months. And then we break down both of those charts by what we call product segment. So it's basically how you group your products. And you can look at these charts by gross profit, by revenue, or by units, volume. So I can just click that tab, and now here's the same charts using volume. So this is for those folks who are just a little bit more graphical, right? It's kind of cool. I'm just kind of a numbers guy, so I like some of the other charts as well. I can always go back just to the main form, which is where I started. Right. One other thing I think I mentioned, one of the files that you can integrate. So if I was wondering if this customer had any special pricing, because not every one of our customers uses that, we kind of buried that at the end here. So there's a related section here that shows all the different files basically that could be tied to an account. And here's this one called account product prices. And remember, this is test data. So I can go here and say, wow, these are all the products that are, kind of set up in our accounting system for this customer to buy. And if they were to buy it today, right, here's the price. And it looks like I got carried away with loading some prices here. So that's that. Another cool feature, it's actually on this main tab, is if you wanted to, you could analyze a customer's order history, right? Visually look at it, and in your mind, make the determination that, this customer orders about every 3 weeks or so, right? Just kind of looking at the data. And so when would you be concerned if they didn't place an order, right? So we didn't get any order history. So right down here, you can put in this case, I put in 26 days. So, if they order every 3 weeks, I don't want to put in 21 days because I don't want to get a lot of false alarms. So I can put in, I probably just add a few days to that. So I would really be concerned if they went over 26 days. So then what's kind of cool is there's a dashboard I can look at maybe once a week or whatever. Just proactively go out here and look at this dashboard to say, show me all of the accounts where I'm kind of keeping an eye on their days between orders, and tell me if I've got anybody on the naughty list. And you know what? Here's this Fairview Manufacturing. The last time they ordered was the 11th. They typically order, I'm concerned at 26 days, and they're 4 days past that. So I might want to give them a call. So the only work you have to do is to set that 26, right? And for another customer, it looks like this one, I'm concerned if they go over 35 days over. So kind of a cool feature, takes just a little bit of setup and you're good to go. Just checking the time here. I think I'm doing okay. All right, a couple other things real quick. I mentioned this concept of suggestive sell. Well, the way that feature works is it was designed more for like an inside salesperson who maybe manages about 1,000 accounts and really can't get, in tune with all 1,000 accounts, like maybe an outside salesperson seeing their customers quite often, probably really is in touch with them, but they could also use this feature. But basically you set this up once where you create this relationship between your product segments. So if a customer buys this, they usually buy this. So I'll just make this up. Maybe if a customer buys from your automotive line, they also buy grease from you, or they buy coolant from you, or whatever. So you build that matrix, and that's all you have to do. Then whenever you're looking at an account in CRM, you can hit this button. And what the system will do is it'll go look at everything they're buying, look at what they're not buying, and then look at that matrix. And it'll say, based on the data, you might want to talk to this customer about antifreeze and your stuff in your automotive line. Again, this is all based on your data, your product segments. So this is usually something that folks introduce maybe after they're up and running, something they maybe don't do right away. But it's optional. It's kind of a nice feature. It just kind of lets the system do a lot of the analysis so you don't have to. All right. Last thing I'll show you real quick is this concept of tracking competitor information. So, as I'm working with Fairview Manufacturing, hopefully they're, I'm building a relationship and they're sharing information with me. And, they could even be doing that when they're a prospect, not even a customer. So this works in both cases, whether I'm dealing with a prospect or a customer. If I find out what they're buying from a competitor, I can just go right here, click this button, and then enter it. And I'm just to save us some time, I'm not going to fill this in, but basically you say, let's say for the lubricants department, coolant, they're buying it from this competitor. And if I had that business, maybe you only care about volume, here's how much volume we'd be talking each year. So that's the way you record it, pretty simple. And then you don't have to remember that then, right? So the good news is one of these tabs I didn't show you earlier is if ever I'm about to visit or call on Fairview Manufacturing, I can just go, hey, who are they buying from, that I've recorded? Well, you just click this tab and it looks like they're buying their their antifreeze from ABC oil, they're buying their DEF from Benzoil, and they're buying their grease from Halloway. These are all just kind of made up names by me. Hopefully they don't exist. But anyway, that's just a great way to easily enter competitor information, and then you don't have to remember it. All right. So that, I think, is kind of enough on managing accounts. I kind of covered contacts in that scenario as well. So lots of stuff. I know I'm going fast, and there's probably a few more things I could show you, but for time purposes, I want to give you a high-level overview of some of the other features. And the other thing I want to do is really show you like what a pipeline looks like, or what an opportunity looks like, basically. So I went into opportunities, and the view I'm looking at is my open opportunities. So these are my opportunities, right? My boss might have a view that can look at all of the open opportunities, and there'd be hopefully much more than these 20, but these are all the ones that I'm working on. Some of them they're in different stages of the sales process, with different estimated close dates. So this is just my pipeline, right? If the boss said, "What are you working on?" It's like, well, look in CRM, but if you want to know, right, here's my pipeline, here's my opportunities. So I'm just going to pull one up real quick. I don't think it matters. I'll just grab one. And don't get too carried away with the data, because again, this is just a test world. But this is an opportunity. I'm going after some business for Henderson Construction. Looks like I'm going to be pushing my Chevron brand. If I go over to this key information tab, looks like this is a very small opportunity, right? You don't have to fill in all these. Maybe you just care about volume, but this is going to be a whopping 25 units per year. So woohoo! There's a spot to enter a status comment. This is a great way to, help you remember stuff and to kind of communicate internally. Where's this thing at? What are my holdup? What's my next step? Estimated close dates, really important, right? This should be a date out in the future. And then the other thing that's kind of important is these stages. So that's all you want is you want CRM to kind of match the real world. So where are you at in the sales process? Did you just start? Are you just starting to meet with the customer now to understand their needs and come up with some solutions, which are probably some products and some prices? Are you ready to make the presentation? Did they verbally commit and say yes? And then hopefully at some point they'll maybe place their first order or get their credit app processed, and then you can code this as a win and close this as a win. And anywhere along the line, you can close this as lost, because that happens as well. So if you close something as lost or as a win, then it just drops off your pipeline. If it's a win, right, then you're just going to continue to manage that account, but the opportunity is gone. So I know I covered that kind of quick, but the stages are important. There's some other tabs on here I could go through, but really this key information tab is pretty important. And then this kind of this overview up on top, who's it for, and what brand am I pushing, who am I competing with for this opportunity. Those are just the types of things that you would have when you manage your pipeline, when you're managing your opportunities. One thing that is optional is if you wanted to use the quote feature within our system. So typically if you're working in opportunity, when you get to this presentation stage, you're presenting a quote. And a lot of folks have different ways to do that, which is fine. You don't have to use CRM. It's just kind of nice because if you use CRM, it's very data driven. It's not like on a spreadsheet or a Word document. But everybody has so many different tools out there. I'm not saying you have to use our quote feature, but I'll just pull one up just to kind of give you a quick idea. So I'll just grab this top one. I have no idea. It looks like it's a pretty old one, but so here's what a quote looks like. And again, it's very data driven. So like, hey, this isn't really much of a quote. So we're going to get to the point where I can show you how it would look to the customer. So when you create a quote, most of the data comes from the opportunity. So most of this would be filled in. Optionally, you can have your supplier logo print next to your logo. So this is optional. You can have as many logos give us as you want. But really, our quotes are basically I would say like a glorified price list, because you want to get this customer to start buying these products and you want them to buy these products forever, right? Even though there's like 7 or 8 price increases every year, it seems the last 2 years. So this is how you basically create a quote. Again, I'm not going to go through going it, but if I wanted to add another product, I could just add a quote product and I get a product and a price. So I'm basically building this quote. And then when I'm kind of comfortable with it, I can just say, okay, yeah, that's cool and everything, but I want to see how that will look. So I'm just going to run this quote report, and it takes all of that data and it converts it into a report that you could save as a PDF, put it in a nice packet with your presentation. If you're allowed to email it to the customer, you could do that. Now, I'm still working on this, so it's in draft, but when I'm all done, I'm going to get rid of this draft watermark. I just activate the quote. But this would be your logo. This supplier logo is optional. I talked about that. On the left-hand side is all about the customer. On the right-hand side is all about the salesperson. And then basically, like I said, product price, and there's some other text on here, and we can have a little disclaimer on the bottom. So it's kind of a nice feature. I'd say, I don't know, I bet you half of our customers, dabble with the quotes, because it's very data driven, right? I'm not willy-nilly grabbing products and scribbling stuff. So it's kind of nice. Plus it's all in CRM. So you have all that data right there at your fingertips. All right, doing a time check again. I'm probably a couple minutes behind, and I think I'm even going above speed mode. All right, what else did I want to show you all? Let's close out of this little print viewer. Back to CRM. I think I'm going to jump over to products just real quick, because I think I promised you I would show you one file that you could integrate with the system. So I'm going to go over to products, it's pretty simple if you think about it. These are just all the products we sell. And I'll see if I'll get lucky. I think this one has some. And so I can just open up this record. So here's this product. So basic information. This product is considered a grease. It's actually a Chevron grease. So some pretty basic information here. But if I go to this additional information tab, if this was on a price list, like price list A, B, and C or whatever, there'd be some basic prices here. But if I wanted to see how much of this product I had on hand, what did I call that? Product balances. Where'd it go? Product balances. So I think I have some in here. Yeah, sure enough. So it looks like, our accounting system looks like we have 4 warehouses: Appleton, Chicago, Green Bay, Milwaukee. And then these 6 columns are basically whatever comes from your accounting system. So if you don't keep track of, on order from supplier, or customer has on order, or customer has on back order, who cares? They just don't come over. They can be 0. In this particular case, it looks like they have so many on hand, and then you do some math and you end up over here with available. If you just want to send what's on hand, that's totally fine. Then your team can just look in the system and say what's on hand. The only caveat to this is what was on hand as of, let's say, this morning, right? Because we do this integration once a night. So you gotta use some common sense here, right? If a product, there's just tons of it, you probably didn't go through it in a day, but if it's a little bit low, you still might have to check with the warehouse to make sure you still have it if you're making a commitment to a customer. So that's that. I also promised I would show you how to, use some of the data on charts and dashboards and actually interact with that data. So again, I hate to do this, but I got to do this kind of fast. I'm just going to slide down this way to dashboards, and I'm just going to show you a couple here real quick. But one of the things that we talked about was your pipeline, your opportunities. This is a way to graphically look at your pipeline. So what is this telling me? This is telling me my open opportunities. How many do I have open in the month they were created? So the reason I would look at this is, I've got some pretty old opportunities. I mean, really? Are we either going to either win them or lose them? Let's get them out of there, right? So that might be a way you'd use this dashboard, this chart. Over here, again, these would be your departments, but how many opportunities do we have in each department? And then how many opportunities does each salesperson have? Again, currently open. So maybe as a manager that, a typical salesperson is going to have anywhere from 15 to 30 opportunities, that they could manage really at one time. So, we're a little bit light, or maybe some of these folks only spend so much time on opportunities. So maybe these numbers are good. But the cool part about these dashboards is you can interact with them. So let's just say that let's actually do a different dashboard for that. I want to show you one more dashboard and we'll kind of drill into it. So another way to look at your pipeline is if you care about volume. So you can say, how much volume do we have in the pipeline by department, by person? And then this is what people think of when they think of a pipeline, by sales stage. So what does our pipeline look like? How much do we have that's early on in the sales process? And how much do we have that's like toward the end of the sales process where we might actually, get these gallons? So just about every one of these charts, there's this little magic button I just love that you can click this, and what it'll do is it'll put the chart next to the data that is used for the chart. So now I have both things here. This is just a graphical representation of this data, the 42 open opportunities that we have in CRM. Now I can massage this one of two ways. I can go over here and I can change this data set. Right now it's 42 records. Maybe I only want to look at my lubricants department. So I can do a quick filter and say I only want lubricants, and it'll narrow down this list. And now this chart, this pipeline chart, is of just my lubricant opportunities. So that's one way, and you can keep doing filters on here. You can do whatever you want. So I'm just going to clear that. So then I'm back to my 42 and I'm back to my full company pipeline. The opposite is, hey, I've got 106 gallons in this activate and transition stage 4. What are those? And if I click here, it will change the list to just the opportunities that are in stage 4. And then I can start looking through some of these and scroll across if I want to see, like, who the salesperson is for each of these. And maybe I want to reach out to that person. What do we got to do to, win this deal? Here's a pretty big one. Maybe I want to help somebody out, finish the deal. So anyway, lots of cool stuff with interacting with the data. One last dashboard I'm going to show you real quick, just to reset here quick. As a manager and even as a salesperson, to just kind of quickly, easily look to see if I have anything that maybe I haven't updated for a while, or maybe the data could be questionable. Well, this is just a quick way to look at any open opportunities that have a bad estimated close date, meaning it's in the past or it's not even filled in, or opportunities that haven't been updated in at least 30 days. And again, remember, you can drill into the data to find out what they are. So I really, really like that chart. All right, switching gears to just another set of charts and dashboards. As I mentioned earlier, you can set gross profit and volume goals. It's usually like a once a year type thing. Usually at the beginning of your fiscal year, you'll set goals. Usually it's by person, and then even by department. You can make it as detailed as you want. And all of those goals add up to like your company goal. So what I can do then is, and there's reports that show this as well, but I'll just show you a dashboard. You can look at like a company dashboard, and you can look at current year, prior year, and you can look at gross profit or volume. I'll just stick here with gross profit. So what am I seeing? I'm seeing our year-to-date overall gross profit. How's the company doing? This blue bar you automatically get because this is just all your order history added up for the year. And if you set goals, you get these circles. So it's a lot of work just to get 4 circles, right? But you see the numbers then if I hover over it, what my quarterly goal numbers are and where am I at, right now. So I'm at 126,000. So if I'm about 3 months into the year, I'm looking pretty good. If I'm only like 6-7 weeks into the year, I'm looking really good. But the cool part is I can drill into this. If I drill into this, it'll break it down by department. And how am I doing by department? Goal versus actual. And I can go a little bit deeper. We have another level called product category, which this is where most companies would use their brands, right? All the different things that they sell. So let's say Chevron just as an example. And then within there, how am I doing goal versus actual by product segment, right? How do I break down my products? And I could drill over here on industrial. And then now we're down to the salesperson. So how is each salesperson doing for lubricant, Chevron, industrial oil? If I went even one step further, this is kind of crazy, but if I click on Sean's here, it will show me the customers, and there's only one here, the customer that's helping Sean, hit his goal for this. So that's quite a bit. That's looking at this data at a corporate level. You can also look at it, maybe you're a sales manager, you care about using the same data, but start out at the salesperson level. So I'm starting out by my sales team, and then I can drill into that. So starting out with Steve, how's Steve doing? Overall, goal versus actual. And then how's Steve doing for the departments where I set goals for him, and on and on and on. So I really, if you're what gets measured gets done. And then your sales team, basically an individual salesperson would have access to dashboard 8 typically, which is just my goal scorecard. So this is just my stuff. A lot of times people lock down some of those other dashboards because you shouldn't really have to look at other people's stuff, but usually everybody gets dashboard 8, just my stuff. All right. One last thing, and I've got to cover this really quick, is this whole, then I said you can take this to the next level, to this whole gap to goal analysis. So what that is once you've got a good healthy pipeline and some history, you can go into this little entity basically and create as many gap to goal configurations as you want. So as an example, this first one here, what I'm telling the system to do is every night, because I've got daily here, every night I want you to analyze my lubricants gap to goal and assume that we're going to increase things are going to go up like 3%. I can also do, in this case, I also want the system to analyze Steve's overall gap to goal, and I also want to analyze Steve's, just his lubricants gap to goal analysis. So that's all I do. I set these up. You could have 10 records in here, you could have 1, you could have 50, it doesn't matter. And then every night we're going to take a look at this and crunch a bunch of numbers. And after you get used to this, it seems overwhelming because there's so many numbers, but I'm just going to randomly open one of these up. So because I had 3 configurations, last night it built me 3 records with all kinds of numbers that came from the system. And ultimately I'm going to go through this a little bit, but ultimately when you get down to the end, the data says, Steve, I know it's early in the year, but you need 149 more opportunities this year if you want a chance of hitting your goal. I mean, that's your gap right now. And it does this based on the volume you've gotten so far, actuals, your average, and then we kind of prorate that out. We look at how many days are left in the year. We look at your average win rate. We look at your average deal size. We look at your goal, and and I show you all the numbers, so you know exactly where they came from to get to this number. And then down here is just like a definition of, how did we do this? I mean, we've had folks who used to do this manually and they'd maybe do it twice a year because it just took forever. Now it doesn't take anything. It's just there. So really nice feature. You can't really use it unless you set goals and you have a decent looking, set of opportunities. Okay, I think I promised I would show you the territory management dashboard. So again, back to dashboards. I'll do this one really quick. So the concept here is maybe I'm going to be going to visit another customer. I'm going to be in a certain city, and what accounts or leads do I have in that area that I might want to visit? And this is just a great way to do it. So there's a bunch of options. I'll do the real easy one. I'm just going to say, I think I use Green Bay all the time. So, I'm going to be heading up to Green Bay, show me all my customers and leads that are within about 15 miles from there. And I should say customers because accounts can be prospects. And then I just show me those on a map. And it goes out and figures out where Green Bay, Wisconsin is. And if I kind of zoom out, looks like Green Bay, Wisconsin to me. Zoom back in. So every one of these circles, if I go over to the legend here, is either a customer, a prospect, or a lead. So, or something other than those. That's the black one. So if I'm driving in from this direction, I might say, well, who is this? And I can click on the circle. If it's kind of hard to read and I want to learn a little bit more about this customer, I can view this record, and it'll open up another window for me right back to that account screen that I showed you earlier with all the tabs and all the information about this customer. So I can noodle that around and then make a decision if I want to call that customer and say, hey, I'm going to be kind of driving by on Friday morning. Can I swing in? So anyway, it might just make some of your trips a little bit more efficient. I hear that if you hire somebody new or they're new to your geography, right? They moved into town and you hired them, then this is really valuable. So anyway, kind of a cool tool. We covered mobile already. I really can't show you much. I talked about activity tracking. Pretty simple concept there. Most CRMs have it. It's tough to tell, how many people use it. I'm going to quick search for Fairview again and get back to an account because most people enter activities on an account. So I'm just going to, oops, what do I do here? Let's do this a different way. Let's go to accounts. Let's try this again. I think I spelled that right. There you are. Jeez, what was I doing? So here's Fairview Manufacturing, and maybe I just visited them and they said, hey, Steve, would you, can you just touch base in about 2 months? Well, I don't want to have to remember that, so I can go to activities. Right here's a list of my open activities, so I have some in there already, but I can easily just make a new activity. Maybe I'll call it a task. There's a lot of different ones. And I can go in here and I'm not going to bother typing all this, but, visited with Bob. We talked about this, blah, 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 and he said to check back in 2 months. And I go over here and I give it a due date of maybe 2 months from now. And I just hit save and close. And now I can completely forget about that. And in 2 months, that's going to show up on my list of activities. If I'm connected to Outlook, it's going to show up on my tasks in Outlook. So just a great way to keep track of what you're going to do. And then when you finish that, you can actually update it. Maybe you visited them and you can kind of document your conversation. So I can open this one up. I could update this a little bit, and if I'm all done with it, then I could mark it complete, and then I have a history of all that went on. So activity tracking is just an awesome tool. Inside sales people use it all the time, but really, I recommend it for everybody. But it's it's a culture change for some folks, but really a nice tool. Okay, real quick, we have a fuel price notification tool. I'm not going to get into this too much, but there's a way you can go in and set up some products. And then let's see, where was that? I think it's on this tab right here. You can say, hey, this customer, I want to send emails every day. And every day I'm going to enter some base prices. And this customer gets the price of super NOLAD and unleaded, and take my base price and add 12 cents to the super NOLAD price and add 6 cents to my NOLAD price and blast an email. And then I code some contacts who actually want to get the email. So you can actually send the email to more than one person at a customer. So I know that's super fast. It's very basic. It's a base price plus a markup. And you do this for any account that you want to get prices. And it doesn't even have to be a customer. It can be a prospect. So that's that. There's a equipment tracking module I wish I could spend more time on because this is like pretty popular. There's a whole separate module for that. So there's really 3 pieces we need here. We need your customers, your accounts, which we have. So that's 1. Then we need your equipment. So each piece of equipment needs to be entered in here. So that's number 2. And then the third step, the third thing we need is to tie them 2 together. So I'm just going to kind of flip over to, you tie them together in this file called the account equipment record. And really quick here, I'll find one. I think this is probably a good one. So in this example, Fairview Manufacturing has this 200-gallon tank. Here's like the number of the sticker on the tank, and it looks like we loaned it to them on February 1st of 2018, and there's no end date, so they still have it. And by the way, this is the product they're putting in the tank. So I'm just going to open this up real quick. Because I entered a product, if I want to, I can also enter an annual commitment. And now I have enough information to tell you on a dashboard who's meeting their commitments or who's not meeting their commitments. Because we have your order history and we know the account and we know the product. So we can do some math for you. So you don't have to do any of that manually. Just go to a dashboard and take a look at who's not meeting their commitments. The other cool thing is if you go to the actual piece of equipment it shows you kind of where that piece of equipment has been over time. So it was here, and then we rented it here, and then we stuck it in our storage here, and now we finally loaned it out to Fairview Manufacturing. I can also jump over to Fairview Manufacturing, and if I'm wondering, hey, does Fairview Manufacturing have any of our equipment? I can go over to this related and find, oops, sorry, I'm getting click happy here. I can find count equipment and say, show me all the equipment they have or have had. Because if the end date is filled in, that means who's ever kind of managing this data has said, no, back in 2016, we went and got that number 10 hose. And back in 2017, we went and got this truck that we let them use or whatever. So equipment tracking is pretty popular. There's also a KPI feature I promised I would show you. I got to do this really quick because I'm really running out of time. So you set up the KPIs, lots of different KPIs. I set up a couple here that have to do with, I want to increase my gross profit by a certain percent, or I want to keep track of, I want to, create at least so many activities in a year or create so many leads. How much gross profit do I want in my pipeline at any time? So I'm not going to have really a lot of time to get into all these different KPIs, but there are about 25 different ones. I always tell folks it's what's important to you, and you can set these KPIs at different levels. If you leave all of these fields blank, that's like a corporate KPI. If you fill in a salesperson, that's a salesperson's KPI, a department's KPI. You can have any combination of these. And then every night we scrunch the data. You can look anytime you want, but as of this morning, here's how our KPIs look. So we had a couple that were red, a couple that were yellow, a couple that are doing pretty good. And I can drill into these and look at the data to find out, how it came up with the numbers and where we're at. So in this case, I wanted so many activities completed this year. Well, based on where we are in the year, in order for me to turn green, I had to be over 5.56, and below 4.27, it was going to be red. So I'm in the middle of there, so that's yellow. So pretty simple. The cool part is you figure out what's important to you. You create the KPIs. The system then will do all the work for you. So I know that's really fast, but that's KPIs. I wanted to finish up with reports before I turn it over to turn it back to Chad. And this is like what most people like, so I want to really make sure I can show you this. So one of the cool ways most of our reports work is you can actually request them to run, and then they just get emailed to you, and they're in a spreadsheet right off the bat. So I'm not going to have time to explain this whole screen to you, but it takes about a few minutes to get used to, but it's kind of a customized filter screen. So first you pick the report you want, and I'll just pick this account ranking report. So basically, I want to get a list of customers and I want to rank them my best to worst. Okay, how do I want to rank them? By gross profit, by revenue, by volume, by profit per unit. I'll just say volume. And then what data do I want to use? Well, I absolutely have to have a time period. So I'm just going to say from 1/1/21 through 12/31/21. All of the rest of this is optional. So at the account level, you can apply any filters you want. So if I just want to rank all my agriculture customers, I could do that. If I wanted to rank all of a certain salesperson customers, so I only want to rank, Kevin's customers, I could select any of these. If I don't pick anything in a box, it assumes you want all of them. So these are things at the account level. And then you can also figure out what data you want to use in the order history file. And once you get familiar with that, every order history is stamped with a department, a category, and a segment. So I can say, look, when I do this ranking, I only care about lubricants. If I combine them all, it's just confusing because fuel has so much volume. So maybe I just say lubricants. So you pick what you want and you go to hit run report or request report. And now it's going to go off and it's going to generate an email with that report in. Now it takes usually 30 seconds to a minute. So what I did is I ran like 3 or 4 reports before this meeting. And another one I ran was a comparison report. Basically, this is an account period comparison report. So I want a list of accounts and I want to put maybe 2020 compared to 2021. How did everybody do? So that's another report. I also ran a quick summary report. So this is a very short report. And the cool part about it is you pick the time frame, but you pick how you group the data. So you can group it by just owner, which is like salesperson, or maybe you say, hey, for each of my salespeople, how are they doing by department? And then within that, maybe product category. That's a cool report. And then the last one that I ran real quick was I think it's a trending report. What was it, like 200? 13-month trending analysis. And you can do trending by product, by person, owner, by account, by department, by product category, by product segment. Again, with the same filters. I just need to know what's the last month you want to use of the 13 months. And when you get all done, like I said, your email is just binging like crazy. And I'll just quick pull a couple of these up. So here's that account ranking report. So a list of customers, all kinds of information about the customer, but right here's the big column, my best customer down to my worst customer based on volume. And this running percentage is kind of nice because a lot of people say, I want to see where the top, where 80% of my business comes from. Well, it's right here. 80% of my lubricants volume last year came from these, 15 accounts. So that was one report I ran. It's kind of nice. Here's an account variance report. So again, this is all test data, but it's customer information. How did they do in 2020? What did they do in 2021? What did they do in 2020? And then what's the difference? And, did volume go up or down? So pretty simple report. There's other columns over here. We just dumped a bunch of monthly totals out here in case you wanted to really get crazy into the analysis. But, the report usually is like right here. Two more quick ones. I think I said I ran. Here's this really short summary report. Give me a list of each salesperson and how they did by overall and then by department and category. So I'll scroll down to mine. So here's how Steve did last year for volume, revenue, and gross profit. And then how did he do in our commercial renewable department and fuel and in lubricants? And then within lubricants, right, how did he do for each of our product categories? And then the last one, as I come up for air, is this trending report. Again, I picked product. This could be, I think there was like 6 choices, but I told it to list products. So take my products and look back at these 13 months and how much did we sell? Now, remember the cool part about this report, these filtering, I could have said, run this report by product, but I only want to look at Steve's, what did Steve sell of each product? Or what did these 3 people sell per product? Or what of these products did we sell to customers that are coded as agriculture or, government or whatever? So it really depends on what you're trying to get, but our reports can usually give you the answer. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a breath. And Chad, I'm sorry I went over. I tried as hard as I could, but back to you.
Thanks for that great overview of the CRM for oil and gas solutions, Steve. I'm sure you're out of breath. It's always amazing to see what we've put together, and that really just comes out of the box for lubricant marketers. So if anyone has any last minute questions or comments, please put those in the GoToWebinar control panel meeting, and we will make sure we follow up after the webinar right away. Now, if you liked what you saw today, it only gets better with a personalized demo, because believe it or not, Steve just really scratched the surface. Let us show you exactly how CRM can work for your company, your culture, and your people firsthand. You can contact either myself, you can contact Steve, or any of us here at Ledgeview Partners to set up that personalized demo today. So we're over a little bit. We want to thank everybody. We've got a lot of great content on our website. We hope you can enjoy at ledgeviewpartners.com, and watch for an email and contact from us to make sure you get this link on demand and share with others in your organization. So on behalf of Steve and I and Ledgeview Partners, thank you and have a fantastic day.